That it must. This is Down to Sports Talk. I am left-handed at RM That's on Twitter, which is right now. That's Browski over there. Yada Bear in the house, in the building. You already know the vibes. Tonight we have a very special show. We're only on for an hour tonight because Yada Bear is dealing with some things, and then she got some things to deal with, get some rest and all that. So, um, the New York Knicks made a move today, and I'm gonna bring Yada Bear in so she can speak and bring herself on. Then I'm going to get into my spiel, right? Yada Bear, aka Browski, aka the really Philly Chili that ain't named Jilly in the building. What's good, Yada Bear? What's good, Browski?
Oh man, everything is all good over here.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really say that for up there, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy, how fast the tables have turned. People out in the street having their slogans, Nixon six, SMD, um, jumping out the window. Um, if y'all haven't heard, of course y'all heard. The Knicks succumbed to the Pacers as they have always done. It seems to be a history with the Knicks losing to the Pacers in the playoffs. I feel like that's like your arch nemesis in the playoffs is the Pacers. And then to turn around and to double down on that, the Knicks do what the Knicks do best, and they fire their head coach. Um, Tibbs is out of here now. Um, what 5 years?
Yep,
5 year, five
yep.
5 years in New York. His tenure is over, despite making into the Eastern Conference Final. Um, despite having this new award, the Clutch Player of the Year. Everybody participation trophy type of award. Play on his team. Um, despite terrible ownership, history of terrible ownership with the Knicks, um, terrible GM. They actually are GMless right now, which is crazy, and now they're coachless. I'm not gonna, you know, pop my towel or anything, but there was a person that sat here that said, yeah, the Pacers are going to win the series, and I was extremely confident in that because of Tibbs' coaching style and his history with coaching within the playoffs. He's an old school coach. He doesn't go deep into his bench, seven, maybe 8 man rotation. Um, burning out his starting rotation. Not making really any type of adjustments. Um, you know, just me being a realistic basketball fan, I have to sit here and say that when you have a guy starting in his starting lineup as in Josh Hart, one who's undersized, two who's out of control on the court, and three, true. If we really break it down, X's and O's, he's trash. When you use words like, "Oh, he has the intangibles," "Oh, he's everywhere," "He's a scrappy player," "He's a dog." You need a dog like that on your team, but you're not saying anything of, "Oh, he has a nice corner three. He's
Right. What he
consistent
what
at
he
the
what he
three.
brings, what he
Yeah,
does. Right, right, right.
he's consistent on the floor. He has a high free throw percentage. He has a high field goal percentage. When you using, he's a dog. He has a mean streak. He's trash.
He's a leader.
Yeah, he's a man amongst boys.
Right.
Like, what are we talking about? What about his skills on the court? He's
Right.
trash. And I feel like a lot of Knicks fans out there have to be realistic about this team. When you look at your bench, who do you really have coming off of your bench? I mean, I could probably name like one person that Tibbs maybe trust a little bit was McBride. You know, he didn't really trust Mitchell Robinson like that because Mitchell Robinson fouls out in 5 minutes. You know, that's one thing that they need to address. You have no inside presence. You know, Cat plays on the perimeter just like all the big guys do. You know, nowadays. You know, um, Jalen Brunson needs a Robin. Um, you know, they figured, we bring in Cat, he can be that guy. Cat's very passive, Um, he shows up once in a while, and then he gets his little hot streak, and then next thing you know, he's an invisible man. It's crazy to see, and it's given very much like the Dallas Cowboy effect. Always thinking their American team, we're gonna make it to the Super Bowl this year. Well, I kind of feel like this is the direction that most of these Knicks fans out here are going. You know, Knicks Knicks won in the East. Knicks in six. Oh, we beat Boston. It was like you guys were so happy to beat Boston when in reality you only beat them because Jason Tatum went out. It's crazy that he goes down in what game 4. You'll go back to Boston and lose without him. It's so just imagine if he was still there, it would have been Boston in 6, and then Boston and Indiana. But the Knicks gonna do what the Knicks do. That's a New York problem. We got our own problems here in Philly. Um, but the Knicks will always be the Knicks. We can go back to calling them bum ass Knicks. I hear people saying bum ass Knicks. I'm like, well, dang, that's wild. But the fact that they fired Tibbs, somebody had to be the scapegoat. You can't fire Brunson, can't fire Cat, OG, Mikel because these guys are under contract. I'm pretty sure the Knicks gonna look different next year. We got names out there. Giannis' name has been flying around. He's been linked to like every team in the NBA, even teams who don't even need him. He's been linked to. So we would definitely see what the Knicks will do in this off season, and they just have to just think about some of the moves that they made that now reflects their present and their future. Because I feel like that Mikal Bridges trade, I think in the end it's going to bite them in the butt because they came up with like 5 picks for that, like 5 first round picks.
We gave up a stash.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this. I don't know if you would you finish? Would you finish your thought?
I was just going to say, and also now they're going to coaching hunt. We're going to hear names like Mark Jackson, Mike Malone, Tyler Jenkins, probably Steve Nash. There's going to be a lot of names thrown in the hat. When we talk behind the scenes, they say Jay Wright from Villanova. I mean, I feel like you can't, regain that Villanova magic in New York, even though you got these Villanova guys there. They're all not going to be there. I can guarantee that Josh Hart is not going to be on this team next year. Like if he's still on this team next year, then that means that the Knicks going to end up in the same place as they had for the past 2 years. I just can't see this guy still on this team. I'm pretty sure if they have the chance, Cat probably be out here too. They will definitely swap Cat for Giannis in a minute. You know, but I mean, who am I? I'm a Sixers fan, just looking in the New York window and seeing the disaster that's happening over there, and just looking through the blinds and saying, so I'm gonna hand it over to my New York brother right here and let him throw some science on this.
All right. First of all, um, when me, was saying when the Knicks get right, Tom Thibodeau's not going to be the coach. I didn't hear nobody Nobody said a word. Nobody peeped. Nobody said jack bone. Let left-handed talk, right? The Knicks went as far as they could go with Tom Thibodeau. 5 years, cool. Back-to-back 50-win seasons, cool. You know what I mean? But again, I think that when it comes down to it, he kind of wore out his welcome. He wasn't never going to be a guy that was going to be an institution in New York unless he won. Get into the second round and losing in 7 games, regardless of the circumstance, is not going to make it happen. Get into the Eastern Conference Finals and losing in 6 games definitely wasn't going to make it happen. The mediocre coaching moves, some questionable decisions, a lot in the 5 year tenure. But again, he was the most, one of the most successful coaches the Knicks have had in a long time. So I got to give it to him. You know what I mean? But again, we knew that going in. We knew Tom Thibodeau wasn't a bad coach. He was just in a situation in Minnesota where, he kind of ran them cats in the ground, and same thing happened in Chicago or whatever the case may be. But he left the Knicks in a better position than they was when he came here 5 years ago. I will say that. So I can't just dump all over the guy. But again, I said it a couple years ago when nobody was saying it except for me. Nobody was saying it except for me. When the Knicks get right, and what I mean by right, consistently a top 1 or 2 team in the East, you know what I mean? Eastern Conference Finals, be damned. Eastern Conference Finals, be damned. Let's win a chip. Tom Thibodeau wasn't going to be the coach. Now, all these people having a pity party. Let me get into my thing. All these people having a pity party about Tom Thibodeau. All of a sudden, he was a great coach and he did this. I give him his numbers. He did what he did. I give him his just due because that's what he's supposed to do, right? So for me, when you have a pity party like that, you just going along to get along. And I don't do that. I've been saying this for the longest time. After further review, season ticket, Wacko Bob, what about that game? I've been saying it for the longest time that Tom Thibodeau wasn't going to be the coach when the Knicks got right. The Knicks went as far as they can go with Tom Thibodeau. And I don't want to take no credit because now everybody, oh, well, I said it. I didn't hear you say nothing. I didn't hear you say word to first. Now everybody coming out the side of their neck talking about I knew it was going to happen. Why? How? How? What did you see that told you that the Knicks was going to fire Tom Thibodeau? Today. So again, I'm not, trying to take no credit or none of that. I just saw it, man. You know what I mean? So now, what do the Knicks do going forward? For me, I think that the Knicks have to make a splash. That's first. Do we agree on that, Browski?
Yeah.
They got to make a splash. They can't go backwards. And Browski mentioned the ownership. I think James Dolan Browski, in my opinion, has been doing a lot better. He's been keeping his name out the out the press for dumb ish. You know what I mean? I got to give him some credit for that. He actually went out and got a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, a big name, a big splash. You know what I mean? Make it happen. Somebody that's actually viable and can play instead of getting people that's past their prime,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of people crying and jumping out the window. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. Well, what it is that's what you're doing. You're crying, and I don't see a tear. I see a lot of crying, a lot of huffing and puffing, a lot of pontificating about what Tom Thibodeau did this, Tom Thibodeau did that, Tom Thibodeau did the third. Well, I'm gonna tell you this: Tom Thibodeau,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever he did, he's not gonna be doing it no more, right?
Well, not in New York.
Well, I mean, that new. And listen, and to me, in my opinion, and I'm gonna ask you this, Kimmy, do you think Tom Thibodeau is one of those guys that if he gets let go from a job, if he's available, he'll get snatched up in 5 minutes?
I wouldn't say 5 minutes. I probably say
Okay, let's go,
I
Kimmy.
probably
Okay,
say
okay,
15 minutes because
okay. I
I
give
think
you that.
people
That
were.
that goes
People
into
had
my
to
point.
think about it because again, we know the history of Tom Thibodeau.
Right, Kim.
We know
Right.
that it's a grind, it's a burnout, especially with younger players. And now the stars of the NBA are younger players.
Hmm.
When we look at the teams that are right now looking for a coach, I can't see Tibbs coaching Memphis. I can't see Tibbs coaching Denver. He will burn. Joker barely wants to play basketball now.
As it
So
is.
you get
Right,
this
Bowski.
there who's going to grind them
Bowski
out.
crazy.
He,
Right.
he definitely, won't be there long. So when you look at teams that need coaches, I think they will, think twice, maybe three times before hiring Tibbs because of his reputation.
And that's my point, Kimmy Bear. That's
But
the Yada Bear.
I can definitely see him coaching again, but I just don't know where
That
or when.
okay. That feeds right into my point. Like I said, I think for whatever Tom Thibodeau did, he won't be doing it no more. And for whatever team he's gonna probably have to start from maybe a Charlotte or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but again, that's not my concern or my problem.
Mm.
Going forward, I think we just talked about the Knicks having to make a splash. Now, for me, Kimmy Bear, my thing for me, I would like to see the Knicks hire Mark Jackson. Get rid of all the drama, put all the drama behind you, all the nonsense. If you're gonna give and recycle all of these other guys, why not give Mark Jackson a chance? So what? He didn't finish out what he started in Golden State, but that was his team, and everybody acknowledged that, right? So again, he had whatever philosophy difference he had with them owners in Golden State. Enough time has went by,
Um.
and he's a New York dude.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
and see
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you you kind of
Definitely.
gotta gotta fall back and let and you know what I mean.
I
But he's
mean.
a and this is my point, Kimmy Bear. This is my point. He's a New York dude. They will respect Mark Jackson. I don't think, and I think that his staff, right, would kind of like have to be some other dudes. You know what I mean? But again, Mark Jackson would sell. They would go crazy at Mark Jackson. But I know that's not going to happen. I know that's not going to happen. I think Mark Jackson would be a instant fix, not a band aid, but an instant fix because he would have this team, accomplishing things. And I can see Mark Jackson taking this team to the next level because he's that good of a coach. Because you saw what happened with those guys, what happened with Golden State, what they turned into. Who's not saying that the Knicks are going to turn into that, but I think that if the Knicks and Charles Dolan and James Dolan they want to do what they need to do, you got to make a splash. You talked about Mark Jackson. You talked about Mike Malone. That would be the simple fix. That would be making a splash. That would be definitely making a splash because he'd be coming home essentially, right? Again, but to me, Browski, when you said when I heard Mike Malone, I heard this team is a mirror version of the Denver Nuggets. And listen, don't center it all around Joker, right? Because we know Carl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. You get 12 of them dudes. They don't add up to the Joker. We get that. Jalen Brunson, Jamal Murray, hurt when they come in when they do their business. They do their business. But that's just for me. That's just for me. Um,
Mm.
Mike Malone would be an instant fix. We talked about Jay Wright. Now, when I say Jay Wright, I meant to kind of like to be funny, like with the Villanova thing. But why not? And Jay Wright is kind of like the basketball version of Bill Cowher. People sitting on, waiting on with bated breath, waiting to see what Jay Wright's next move is going to be, right? And what bigger splash can you make, and then give people, the social media and the media per se more fodder. But here we go again with the Villanova thing. So Jay Wright's a name. I don't know any other names that might be out there, or you think that just out the box that for the Knicks, Browski, the Knicks is that's a big job. The New York
Yeah.
Knicks head
I mean,
coach is
I
a
feel
big
like
job.
I feel like Mark Jackson will be like a big like left field
Why you say that?
because they already overlooked Mark Jackson. They already overlooked him.
I mean,
He
that's why
he.
this would be the perfect time. Go ahead, Kimmy. Yeah,
But
that's
I'm
why this
just
would be the
saying
perfect time.
they already overlooked this guy. He when before they hired Tibbs, you know, Mark Jackson been out of the job. He already been overlooked. Um, I feel like a lot of New York natives will love Mark Jackson because like you said, he's a New York guy. But I feel like the next coach probably gonna be Mike Malone for the simple fact that he won a Denver team a championship, their very first championship. You know,
You could
Denver
have got
was
him
in.
another one, but oh well.
They could have got another one, but again, when ownership step in and make ridiculous moves, this is what you get. Um, I can probably see a strong consideration for Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell has been a name that's been thrown out there several years. Flirting with being the head coach. A lot of players respect him and listen to Sam Cassell. Um, Also, you have a guy, former Memphis coach, Tyler Jenkins. Um, it should be an interesting, you know, off season for the next. Figuring out
You think?
this this head coaching situation
Draft is coming up.
again. Now, here we go. So now you go into the draft. No GM, no head coach. Just lost
No
the Eastern
clue. No
Conference.
clue
Just
of
lost the Eastern
either.
Conference
Right.
Finals.
Right.
You barely have picks because you gave up a lot for Mikael Bridges, and like you said, now you're going in with no clue. So this right here can be a start of a disaster for the Knicks on the other side because we have all of these unknowns. You're trying to go back and fix your mistakes because I feel like giving OG that money could be a mistake. Trading all your picks for Mikael Bridges could be a mistake. Um, Not getting the right GM / right coach is going to be a disaster if they can't find the right pieces. And I think you got to go
Yeah.
GM
Yeah.
first. You gotta get the right GM who knows what they're doing, who can find the right coach, who will fit well with your core. And that's what you had to figure out also. What is your core? Jalen Brunson and who else? Because right now, to me, it seems like if I'm the Knicks, the only person that would be untouchable would be Jalen Brunson. And
And he could be had for the right price.
true. And if I am the Knicks next coach, he wouldn't be bringing the ball up. I would at least try to bring in someone else to be the primary ball handler because even though he is listed as a point guard, he's not a point guard. He's a scoring point guard. He's like Steph Curry. Steph Curry is listed as a point guard, but he's not the point. He's a primary scorer. He's not the point guard. That's why they got a guy named Draymond Green who could bring the ball up, who averaged more assists
Right.
than Steph Curry. So um, they got a lot of stuff that they need to think about. A lot of stuff they need to fix, but it starts at the top. They gotta get this GM in there right, and everything else will be a trickle down effect. But we gotta start talking about the Knicks.
Nah,
That's
we
the
ain't never got
past.
to stop talking about the
Hey,
Knicks.
that's the past. We got an NBA final.
Yeah, you
They
right. Hey,
won.
listen, Browski. I'm gonna have to get at you, man, because
Oh, here we go. Look, 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 look. Now you don't
you
get
know
at
what
me
I mean? I'm gonna have to
because
get at you, man. You know what I mean? But
because
it's all good. It's
we
all
got we got
good.
we got the finals
I'm in the
coming
same.
up.
I'm in the same boat with you. I done seen the hotels in Cancun and went
Exactly.
fishing in Cancun and all of
Exactly.
that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I saw the
Listen.
little. I saw the little towel folded up like a iguana. I saw
And
that. I saw all of
we
that. You
had
know what I
we
mean?
had the reservation already booked for you.
You have my reservation already, but
We
how
just
kind of
moved
you.
all out of there.
How nice of you. All right. I
Okay.
appreciate you.
But
Word up.
looking forward to the finals. OKC versus the Pacers. Crazy, right?
How much of that finals are you watching?
No, I'm actually going to watch it because to me personally, I feel like these two teams matches up, you know, together. I feel like they are both um, a deep team. They go to their benches. It's not one of these super teams. You know, OKC basically a homegrown team. SGA was traded there very young in his NBA career. Um, you got Chet. You know, you got Jalen Williams. Like all of these guys were basically drafted in, and they was able to learn to play together. See, this right here should show some of these NBA franchise that when you draft correctly and give these young guys time to mold and play together, this could be your future right here. Being in the NBA championship after what, like 3 seasons, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the Pacers, again, you got a guy in Tyrese Halliburton who was traded there very young in the season. You know, um, congratulations to Miles Turner. Miles Turner been on the Pacers for years, and he finally made it to the NBA championship. He
Mm-hmm.
been there through it all. You know, and then you bring in a guy who's been there before in Pascal Siakam. You know, with Toronto, you gave him a bag. He came in there and Eastern Conference MVP, very well deserved. I'll say that. A lot of people want to
Yeah.
look at Halliburton and was like, why
Yep.
didn't they get
Yep.
Halliburton?
I'm not
But
surprised.
if
Salute to
you,
Pascal. Right. Go ahead,
yeah,
Pastor.
but
Go ahead.
if you was watching, the playoffs, the whole playoffs, not
Right.
just the Eastern Conference Final, Pascal has been extremely consistent throughout the whole playoffs. He doesn't make big splashes, but when you look at that box sheet, you're like, wow, damn, he had 34 points,
Mm-hmm.
13 rebounds, 6 assists. That's crazy, you know. So when people was like was side eyeing that, I was like, well, you must didn't really watch the playoffs because he's been killing it the whole
Right. And
postseason,
you must wasn't watching basketball because Siakam got a ring with Toronto, right?
Exactly. So with him winning that, I thought it was very much deserved. Um, Again with this Pacers team, you got Halliburton, Siakam, Miles Turner, Nimhard, Neil Smith. Then you look at
Mm-hmm.
their bench. You
Mm-hmm.
got a guy T.J. McCollum coming off the
Right.
bench. You got the other guy, what's his name,
Thomas,
Marshawn.
the Thomas dude. They was that
The
was hitting
Thomas
threes like from out
Thomas
of nowhere.
Bryant. You
Right.
got the guy, his name Marshawn or Market or something like that. So they like,
Oh, Benedict, right?
yeah. Like so, Rick Carlisle, has a very deep bench, and they play at least 9 to 10 guys. So OKC kind of does the same thing. Like I said, they match up very well. It's going to be really, really interesting um, to see how this series unfold. The first 2 games going to be very telling to see how the series go. But I'm actually pretty excited to see this matchup, and I'm excited to see that we're going to have a new champion. It's not one of these repeat guys. It's not Boston again. It's not the Warriors. It's not the Lakers. It's not the Nuggets.
He
It's like, it's now the torch has really been passed along to the younger generation. Now we're going to see SGA or Halliburton coursed up this NBA Finals trophy, and we can finally see that the younger generation taking over the NBA. So I'm excited for it. How much of it you gonna watch? You gonna watch it?
I'm gonna watch some of it. I'm gonna watch some of it because again, like I said, it's interesting to see, Oklahoma City and to see if they can close the deal. Because we talked about them. People have been talking about them for a couple of years now.
Front runners.
Shea Gilgis Alexander coming into his own,
Yeah,
along with the cast of characters. The Chet Holmgrens, like you said, the Williams clan, the Dort
hmm
guy. You
yeah,
know what I mean? A lot of those guys have come up through the ranks to this together. So again, I think it's a big thing for Oklahoma City. It's a big thing for Indiana. It's a big thing for the small markets, which are not really so small anymore because all eyes are going to be on you. So when you talk about the matchup, I think Oklahoma City is the favorite when you look at it on paper and you just take a quick glance at it.
hmm
Um, both of those teams have been through scrappy games. I think Oklahoma City was more of a team that'll put the mollywop on you, as evidence when they ran through Memphis and a couple other teams in this playoff run. Where Indiana takes you down to the bare knuckle. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Have you sitting on your seat and you know that going into the game. The game could just tip off, but by the fourth quarter, with a minute left, it's going to be drama. So
Oh, of
again,
course.
that those worlds are going to collide. Both of those teams love to run.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So
fast,
again,
fast paced.
you're going to see a lot of exciting basketball. You're going to see a lot of nervousness in game one because
Oh
again,
yeah.
that's what comes with the new generation being in a particular situation such as the NBA Finals. Now, I will say this to that, Kimmy. A lot of those kids, and I call them kids because that's what they are to me. No disrespect. Um, have been in situations like in college. You know what I
hmm
mean? Um, even in the NBA, maybe regular season and the postseason and stuff like that. This is just where more people are looking at you, and every move, every possession, every pass, every steal, every layup, every dunk is going to be analyzed, scrutinized, criticized, all that. So, can you take that? You know what I mean? If you make a bad pass in the fourth quarter and people are talking about you, calling you this and that and the third, and then to that point, your minutes get reduced. Now, how does that affect you going down the line in the series? Because I think it's going to be a pretty decent series. It's going to be more than 4 games. You know what I mean? More than 4 games.
I
Might
say
be
about
five,
six.
might be six. But
I
I
think
think that
six.
at the end of the day, Indiana's going to get their burn. Indiana's going to get
Well,
their
yeah.
burn.
Yeah, I think in situations like that you just presented, that's why you have players like Alex Caruso on OKC who has been to an NBA final, who
Hmm.
has won an NBA final, and then for the Pacers you have for Pascal Siakam, who also have won not only in the NBA but also in the G League. He won a G League title and he won an NBA title. So these guys have been in these type of situations where it's like, all right, well, you know,
You know what to do.
we know what to do. We might be down 2-1 or 2-0. We just got to win this one game. Or we might be down by 8 with like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Let's calm down, continue to play our game, take it one possession at a time. You have those guys to be able to talk to their superstars in SGA and Halliburton and Neymar and the Williams kid that they may be nervous and their shot is not falling and it's telling me, hey, stop forcing it, just calm down, take a deep breath, and go out
Let it
there
happen. Let
and
the
play
game
your
come. Let
game.
the game come to you.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma City. Again, they have to just play like they've been playing all year long.
Yeah.
Indiana, they have to play like they've been playing all year long. The X factors are going to be very interesting. You could just throw any name, pick a name out of a hat, and that
But
guy could be considered an X factor in this series. That's what makes it interesting and
I
compelling.
think I think the X factor in this series is going to be the coaching because we know what the players can do. And when I look at the coaching, Rick Carlisle is already an NBA champion. He has the experience. I feel like experience. in these positions do, you know, play a big factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I don't know, Rick Carlisle effect may take place. Um, I feel like defense is going to be a big factor. We know OKC play really good defense. The Pacers at time can play good defense. Um, if they can be consistent, then that might flip the series. But it should be really interested. Like I said, I'm excited to see it. Um, I'm just looking for a good series. I don't want the refs to be a part of it.
Right,
I
right,
don't want
right,
no
right, Brosky, right.
controversial calls or anything like that. Even though I already know we're going to get it because they just can't help themselves. And I just want people to tune in because you know how they like to pull up the numbers. Well, nobody's watching the finals because you don't have LeBron in it or Steph Curry in it. Or Joker's not in it. I just want people just to enjoy basketball. I feel like this is going to be a really good matchup. You know.
Um, very, 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 very interesting points that you bring up, and I think when we talk about the series, people are interested in it because again, it's new. All right. Last time I remember Indiana in the finals when they had, Mark Jackson, Reggie Miller, Haywood Workman
Hmm.
with the Davis brothers, Mick Smith, they went up against Shaq, Kobe, and them.
Yep.
Um, you know, and again, this is a new, situation. Windwalkers out there in Oklahoma City. So again,
Hmm.
it's shine time for them. So this is
Yep.
this is going to be this is a whole new atmosphere. You know what I mean? Philly's accustomed to it. New York is accustomed to it, but Oklahoma City really not. But people are going to see Oklahoma City. It's a. I've been there. It's a nice place. You know what I mean? It's really really nice. The people are outgoing and friendly and all that. But the series is going to be very compelling. Now here comes the question, Browski. Um, Hold on before I say that. You mentioned Rick Carlisle.
Hmm.
You said the coaching would be an X factor. What do you think Mark Daniel is going to bring to the table, in regards to what Rick Carlisle might present? Because the Pacers are, like you said, their defense is off and on.
Hmm.
But how does that Indiana Pacers defense really get into what Oklahoma City is trying to do when they can go big?
Yeah.
Jay's going to drive the basket to the hoop. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That means that interior defense is going to have to be careful, right?
Hmm.
You don't want to pick up silly fouls. So,
Yeah.
how do you think Mark Daniel is going to respond to the moves that Rick Carlisle is going to make during the finals?
I feel like he is really going to focus on um just let's having them stay the course. I feel like he's going to look at it like we're going to do what got us here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why change? And I feel like he may not do anything um different. I feel like like I said, I feel like he's going to stay the course. I feel like he's just going to tell his guys to play their game and trust their guys. You know, um, like I said, it should they match up really well together. So I can't really say who has more of advantage than anybody, but I don't know. It's the first two games is gonna be very telling on how the rest of the series go.
Yeah, I feel like Indiana is going to have to get used to what Oklahoma City's going to throw at there, and the crowd is going to be going crazy. Yo, what up, Steele? What up, Tyrese? What's good? Um, Yeah, I think that Oklahoma City is gonna, try to, get into Indiana's head. You know what I mean? Um, and when I see this finals, and again, I'm gonna watch it. Yada
Mm-hmm.
Bear talked it up a little bit for me. The schedule is crazy.
Schedule is
Wednesday,
crazy.
Sunday, Tuesday. Like
But the first, no, 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 wait a minute. The first game Thursday.
yeah. The first
So,
game's Thursday. My bad. The first
so,
game's
so,
Thursday,
so
then
it's like
Sunday,
Thursday,
then
Sunday.
Tuesday. Right? Game three.
I
Because
believe.
game one is Thursday, like you said. Game two
Oh,
is Sunday. I know for sure. I looked at them today.
oh, I got to check because yeah,
Uh huh. Yo,
I
the
think
chat room is popping. We got Steel up in there. King Kong went to Hong Kong and played ping pong. Nah, we ain't doing that up in here. They got Tibbs out of here. Shout out to Tyrese. They got Tibbs out of here. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Um, yeah, man. Yeah, we seen it coming, man. We seen it coming.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. So
I was saying it for a minute. Like, yo, when the Knicks get right, and this year coming up, next basketball season would be the perfect time for them to get right because they can take advantage of whatever's going on in the East. Milwaukee's going to be, going through it. You know what I mean? And the Boston Celtics are not going to be what they were.
game
So,
so game one Thursday, game
uh
two is
huh,
Sunday,
right,
game three is Wednesday,
okay,
game four is Friday.
okay.
So I guess they give them what 2 days travel time, a day travel, a day practice before
But
they
you going from
go.
Oklahoma City to Indiana?
Yeah, it's
I
not that.
mean, like it ain't like you
It's
going
not that
from
far.
yeah,
Like
you
yeah,
ain't like you going from Denver to Boston. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
it's not that far. But
You know what I mean?
I know from Sunday to Wednesday.
Sunday to Wednesday is crazy.
That's a wild layover.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it's not like they traveling, Browski. Game one is Sunday in OKC. Game two is not till Wednesday in OKC. What is that?
No. Game one Thursday. Game
Game one,
two.
I'm sorry, I keep saying Wednesday.
Yeah,
Game one is Thursday in
game two
OKC.
on Sunday is wild too.
And game two is on Sunday.
Because generally it would be Thursday and Saturday, like maybe a day in between, and then yeah, that's all right. Well, you know what?
Well, you know how the NBA does
Well,
with
the
the finals and the scheduling.
NBA is trying to stretch it out.
Yeah, I mean, but you know how they do anyway with the finals. It'll be game one on Sunday, game two will be on Wednesday. That's how they do it, man. They want to keep people's attention. You know what I mean? So again, basically with this series right here, you mentioned it earlier in the show, the ratings. Like, I
Yeah.
don't really think at this point the NBA and Adam Silver even cares about the ratings at this
Nah.
point. He just wants to see a compelling series. I think the deeper the series goes, the better it'll be as far as the ratings are concerned and all
Oh
of
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Oh
So
yeah.
that's what we are. I got first of all, who you got, Browski?
Um, I got OKC in six. I got I gotta. I've been rocking with them the whole season, saying that they was the best team out there in the West.
Right.
I've been talking them up for the past 2 years, and seeing their progression. Um, as much as I do like Halliburton, I like SGA. Um, I like the Williams kid. I'm gonna have to go with OKC. Just and this would be another slap in the face to Kevin Durant because you couldn't bring a title to OKC. All them years that you've been there, you couldn't bring a title
Right.
to
All them
OKC.
years. Right.
Now,
Right.
then
And you played with everybody under the sun. You played with
exactly,
Harden. You
and then you
played
want
with
to dump
Westbrook.
one
You
back.
played with Big Perk. Like,
Yeah,
come on, bro.
yeah,
Um,
you could bring one. So yeah,
here's my thing. The Indiana Pacers will be lucky to see Game Five.
damn,
I
she said
think the
lucky.
Oklahoma City Thunder are going to run through the Indiana Pacers.
Wow,
The Indiana Pacers won their championship when they beat the Knicks.
wow,
I think that Oklahoma City is just going to put their foot on the gas. It might be a sweep.
that's crazy.
I wouldn't be. And listen, Kimmy. And this is not the. When you say Browski, this is not the effect, the drunken effect from Tom Thibodeau being fired or nothing like that.
That's crazy.
Don't put your head down. Don't, I think the
Wow.
Indiana Pacers, they will be, if they don't get swept, the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to treat them like gentlemen and let them live. I don't think the series is gonna go past 5 games. That's just my opinion. I think
Okay.
Oklahoma City's gonna run them out the gym in one of them games. Might run them out the gym in two of them games. All right. They don't see any difference between Memphis and whoever else they had to beat to get to the NBA
Oh,
Finals. I think they're
I
gonna
can't,
run through the
you
Indiana
can't say
Pacers.
that. Memphis was trash. Memphis should
Yeah,
have won.
I think they're gonna run through the Indiana Pacers.
Gotta give the
I don't
Pacers
feel
a
like
little
it's
bit.
gonna be a
At
good.
least I
The
gave them.
games are gonna be good. The games will be good. I give
At
you
least
that.
I gave the Pacers 2 games. I gave them 2 games. I gave them two.
Yeah, I got OKC and I'll say 5. I'll stretch it out and say
Damn.
5.
Five.
We in the building, man, down in Sports Talk. We just appreciate the chat room rocking out with us. So we doing what we doing, rocking out. Browski, what else we gonna get into? Knicks fire Thibodeau. Let's talk a little baseball. Let's talk a little, just a little bit, just a little bit. Um, it's almost getting point to that time right now when we got to work and look at who we're gonna select for the All Star game. The All Star game is coming up.
It's
Um,
definitely
your
approaching.
Philadelphia Phillies are doing what they do. My Yankees are doing what they do. What's your thoughts on where the Phillies are right now, heading into June, where it begins at in the summertime?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're playing the Toronto Blue Jays. We had a fantastic first inning. We had a 6-run first inning. We had back-to-back home runs hit by Trey Turner and Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper first game back since getting hit in the elbow by Spencer Strider. Um, we just came off of a series sweep loss to Milwaukee, which was brutal. Um, but I mean, it happens. You can't win them all. It's still early. We There is some questions about the rotation now. They want to bring up the young guy, Mike Abel. We probably will be seeing him start again. He started a couple weeks ago. Had a really good
Mm-hmm.
outing. Um, Kid got some good stuff, and it's still some questions in the air. Before the trade deadline come up, and there's some moves that could be made to try to solidify the batting order. Um, we can always use help in center field. Um, there has been some rumors thrown around about bringing back Reese Hopkins and having him play first base, and Bryce will go back to right field, which I would have no problem with Bryce going back to right field and to bring in Reese Hopkins. I mean, a guy can give you 25 to 30 home runs a year. Yeah, of course I want that back in my lineup. You know, um,
I
also,
heard y'all was trying. I heard y'all was trying to talk to Cedric Mullins, center fielder for Baltimore.
yeah, I mean, listen, anything could help. I mean, we still have question marks about Alec Bohm at third base. He's not really a good third baseman. He makes a couple plays here and there, but when it really counts, the ball get hit down that third baseline. That's a guaranteed hit.
Hmm.
Truthfully, because for some godforsaken reason, his body just can't move that way. It's he dives for the
Yeah, Basti
ball.
said that his
Yeah,
body can't move that
his
way.
body can't move. It's dive. It's like
Basti crazy. His
it's it's
body can't move
it's
that
crazy.
way.
Anything gets past on that third base line, it's like hit
Right.
on the third base line. That's a
Right.
guaranteed hit. That's a double
It's a
for you
double.
right
That's
there.
true. You might as
That's
well write down 2 bases on the
two.
scorecard,
It's
right?
two all day. It's two all day. So I mean, it's a question there, but you know how it is with baseball. Nobody want to make a move until the trade deadline. The closer to the trade deadline, then you start seeing transactions made. Um, but right now, we're going back and forth between first and second with the Mets. But I'm not looking at the standings right now because it's only June. We have so many more months of baseball, and we just get into the grind of the year. June, beginning of the summer. Um, this is where we start basically making our moves, fighting for position, and just trying to get to the All Star break without any injuries. Without any major injuries. We already had Bryce out for a couple of days. He's good. We just trying to just stay afloat and just cruise into the All Star break. What's going on with your Yankees?
First place as usual. But
As usual.
look who's creeping on the come up. The team that you're playing tonight, the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Well, they, and like you said, Kimmy, I'm not really sweating that. It's June. Let's get into, after the All Star break,
Yeah.
get up to the trade deadline and make some moves. And
Correct.
the dog days of summer are coming. You know what I mean? It's gonna be crazy in July and August. So we still
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of baseball to be played. But we put Luke Weaver on the injured list. That's going to hurt our bullpen because we still, the Williams kid is not really doing what he needs to do. We had a couple of nice appearances, but he's still, kind of like shaky, suspect.
Yeah.
Um, I like where we're going right now. We're playing Cleveland Guardians right now. We're up 1-0. The surprise for me so far for the Yankees has been Carlos Rodon. I looked at his numbers. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I can't really, talk
Can't be
greasy
mad,
about him
right?
if he's doing what he does. But when I'm watching him, you know what I mean? He has a couple of nice innings, and then the roof caves in.
Yeah.
But I think look at this. Like the roof is caving in right now. Look at this. But I think that overall, where we are, I'm happy with what we are. Man,
Good.
nice, 4.5 game lead over Toronto. Doing what we do. I don't, like the fact that we lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. But life happens. We won one of those games. But I watched the game. It was the other night. It was the third inning. It was like 10-0. I was like,
Listen,
wow.
that's look,
You know?
that's the same
What was that
day that the
Saturday? I think it
Phillies.
was Saturday night.
Yeah, that's same. Look, we that's same thing when we was playing Milwaukee and it was 17-3. I was like,
Yeah. Like, what
what
is
the
these
hell is
football scores
going on?
going on?
Yeah,
There's
I'm
a
like,
lot of that going on this year. You notice that, Kim? It's a
yeah,
lot of that
yeah.
going on. These
Scoring
high
has,
scoring. Go
hmm
ahead.
scoring has gone up. You know what else I have noticed too?
Hmm.
Here we go with the umps. These balls and strikes
Rowski,
all
talk
over the
about it.
place, all over the place. And then umps getting sensitive, throwing players out. You know, to me, the tapping of the helmet, I don't understand why that's an instant ejection because he could have been tapping on his helmet, and just like trying to get himself into the game, like focus, pay attention. Soon my man just went just like this. I was like, you know what? You're out of here. I said, yo, what are we doing, bro?
Right.
Just
Um.
because you tap on your helmet?
Yeah.
Come on,
What
that doesn't
happened
be
was
motivating yourself.
right. What happened was that was supposed to be in spring training. The tap of the helmet was supposed to be the sign to to do the replay. For the replay,
Mm,
and the umpires was like they said it in spring training. If they do that, they take it as a form of disrespect. That's an automatic ejection.
that is
And
ridiculous.
I mean, you be seeing them do that. That's why they got all the pine, all the stuff on their helmets because
Yeah,
they adjusted it and stuff like that. But the umpires, like you said, are super sensitive,
yeah.
and the players have a right to feel how they feel because some of these calls these umpires be making, I can't wait till they get the robot system in,
I've
so
been
we won't have to
calling
worry
for
about it.
robot umps
I
like
can't wait.
behind the plate. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Like the other day, I'm watching the game. The ball is 3 inches outside of the strike zone, and he's calling them out. I'm looking like,
Yeah, you're right.
what
You're
is
right.
he looking at?
Right.
Do we
You're
need
right.
glasses?
They need more than
He
glasses. They need something else. They need something else on them. We got like about 5 minutes left on the show. This is Browski's favorite part of the show. You already know what it is. It's called the Get Down on It segment. Browski, what we getting down on? We got a couple of minutes left.
All right, I'm getting down on WWE releasing a fan favorite in
Yeah.
R Truth.
Yeah.
R Truth has been with WWE for over 20 plus years. He hasn't hold like any like real heavy single titles. He had a couple tag team titles. He was like the 24/7 champion and all that. But he was a fan favorite. Anytime he came out in the arena, he had a huge pop. Everybody's rapping his songs, you know.
Maybe that's why they got rid of him.
He was the comic relief. Any type of like booking or signing that he had,
Right.
his line would be wrapped around the
Right. Right.
building.
Right. Popular. Right.
R Truth
Absolutely.
always gave love to everybody. He was a good wrestler, but
Look
he
at
just
this.
wasn't like one of like the main guys. But he was beloved by the wrestling community, and for them to just release him like that, I felt was like a little bit disrespectful. If this was his last go around, then let him, have his
Farewell
retirement
tour.
tour, because I feel like he was entitled for that, for everything he did for the WWE. WWE is really big with giving back with the Make a Wish stuff and
Hmm.
volunteering, and he would be at all of those events.
Right, right.
You know,
So he was
so
valuable on
oh
in and outside the ring. Okay.
yes, so for them to just say, "Oh, well, we're not going to renew his contract," and the last time we saw him was, against John Cena, um, last Saturday at Saturday Night Main Event. They could have made like some type of announcement and made it more special and be like, "Oh, this is his final match." But just to let him have this match, and then a couple days later put a press release, "Oh, we're releasing our truth." I said, "Wow, that's crazy." So I definitely want to say salute to him. Thank you for the memories. I wish WWE would have, did something nice for him. What was crazy is they just had Monday Night Raw the other day,
Hmm.
and in Oklahoma, and during some of the matches and some of the segments, you hear the crowd chanting, "Where's truth? Where's truth? We want our truth." So, as you see, it's not just me. It's also the fans out there is
Right.
also a little upset that this has happened. So, that's what I
Mm.
want to get down on.
No doubt, and it just shows you, you know what I mean. If you strike the people here,
Yeah.
getting them here is a small thing. If you
Mhm.
strike them here, that's where it really counts at. And our truth. I think that when you talk about a guy like that, wouldn't he be one of those that might be picked up in 5 minutes by another organization like
Yeah.
AEW or something like that?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think he can
Okay,
go anywhere and wrestle.
no doubt. I want to get down on the passing of an all-time great from the Minnesota Vikings, Jim Marshall, one of the purple people eaters, that fearsome defense of the Minnesota Vikings. Him, Carl Ella, you know what I mean. Very, very influential in the '70s. I just wanted to put some, respect on his name because a lot of people, we get away from that. We don't, recognize those guys. I mean, you talk about the '70s. You talk about, the Steel Curtain, Doomsday Defense, Orange Crush, even the Raiders to some degree, but the
Hmm.
Minnesota Vikings, their defense, the Purple People Eaters, they were called that for small reasons. They really did their numbers, so salute them. And what else I want to get down on? I want to get down on one more thing. Will these people please get out of the Cleveland Browns quarterback room? Leave the Cleveland Browns alone and let them do what they do, right? They get ready to have some, the practice before they turn it up a little bit and get into the official tissue of the
Yeah.
deal. If Shador Sanders wants to, make it happen, then make it happen. If Joe Flacco says he doesn't want to be a mentor, then that's him. That's what those old
They
tired
always
dudes
say
say
that.
anyway. That's on
They
their way
always
out the
say
league.
that.
Brett Favre said it. Aaron Rodgers said it. You know what I mean? So Joe
Yep.
Flacco, who really, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? But again, if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. But I think that should not affect, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Shador Sanders in any
Yeah.
way. I don't think it's going to bother Deshaun Watson. He paid already. But, I just felt like, the Cleveland Browns, a lot of scrutiny, as it should. I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? But again, at the end of the day, for Joe Flacco to say what he said about him not being a mentor, I mean, dang, yo. No, there's no, there's no M in, trying to win. You know what I mean?
Facts.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
But down in Sports Talk, we're about to get out of here. Another Tuesday night down, another dope show. Broski's the MVP of the season for the first 6 months of the year. I'll get down on it. And on down in Sports Talk, I gotta step my game up. You know what I mean? You see me I'm getting coaches fired and can't win chips and all that good stuff. We'll be back next Tuesday night. talk about the NBA Finals,
Mm-hmm.
talk about the Stanley Cup Finals,
Yeah.
talk about some fights that are taking place this weekend, but we'll get into it, all right? Down in Sports
Yeah.
Talk, I am left-handed, RM Des on Twitter, which is this right now. That's Browski over there. We'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all be peace wherever y'all go. All right?
Peace.
Salute. 100.